The Monk Who Carried Tomorrow, a Buddhist-inspired sleep story from the Midnight Monastery tonight. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing more you need to finish, and no problem that must be solved before you are allowed to rest. Let the day become a little more distant now. Allow the room around you to grow quiet in its own way. You do not need to force your thoughts to stop. Thoughts rarely obey an order to be silent. Let them arrive if they wish. Let them pass if they are ready. For now, you only need to follow a small lantern along an old mountain path. This is the story of a young monk who tried to carry tomorrow, and of the night when tomorrow became too heavy. High above a valley of cedar trees stood a monastery called Quiet Cloud. It rested against the side of a mountain where the stone paths were narrow and the evenings arrived early. In winter, snow covered the tiled roofs. In summer, mist climbed from the valley and moved between the buildings like a slow white river. People from distant villages sometimes traveled to Quiet Cloud with questions. They asked how to stop being angry. They asked how to make the right decision. They asked how to avoid losing the things they loved. The monks gave different answers to different people. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they poured tea. Sometimes they sent a visitor to sweep the courtyard until the question changed by itself. Among the younger monks was one named An. An was sincere, hardworking, and kind. He rose before the morning bell. He remembered every instruction. He never arrived late to the meditation hall. But An possessed one unusual talent. He could discover a future disaster inside almost anything. If the morning sky was clear, An wondered whether the afternoon sun would dry the vegetable beds. If rain began to fall, he imagined the lower path washing away. When the rice store was full, he worried that mice might find it. When it was nearly empty, he worried that winter would arrive early. If the old bell sounded strange, he wondered whether the rope was about to break. If the bell sounded exactly as it always had, he wondered whether he had simply failed to notice something wrong. And believed that worry was a form of responsibility. He believed that if he imagined every misfortune before it happened, he might prevent pain from reaching the people around him. And so, while the other monks slept, and often walked through tomorrow in his mind, he repaired roofs that had not broken. He apologized for mistakes he had not made. He answered accusations no one had spoken. He survived storms that existed only behind his closed eyes. By morning, he was tired from journeys he had never taken. The oldest teacher at Quiet Cloud was Master Jin. No one knew exactly how old he was. Some said 70, some said 90. One novice insisted that Master Jin had always been there, sitting beside the same plum tree before the monastery itself had been built. Master Jin never corrected these stories. He walked with an ordinary wooden staff and ate from a plain black bowl. He had a habit of watching small things for a very long time. Steam lifting from tea, ants crossing a stone, or rain gathering on the edge of a roof. One evening, An found him watching a moth circle a lantern. "Master," An said, "the western clouds are very dark." "Yes," said Master Jin. "There may be a storm." "There may. The bridge below Cedar Pass was damaged last spring." It was. If the river rises, the people in Willow Village may be cut off. Master Jin watched the moth make another circle. "Then tomorrow," he said, "we should walk to Willow Village." And felt immediate relief. Action was always more comfortable than uncertainty. "I will prepare tonight." "Bring what you need," said Master Jin. "We leave before dawn." And bowed and hurried away. In the storeroom, he found a traveling pack and began to fill it. He packed a heavy oilcloth in case it rained. He packed a wool blanket in case the temperature fell. He packed 2 coils of rope in case the bridge had collapsed. He packed a small axe in case a tree blocked the road. He packed a hammer and iron nails in case the bridge could be repaired. He packed dried rice, beans, tea, and enough food for 4 days, though Willow Village was less than 1 day away. He added medicine for fever, salve for burns, and cloth for bandages. Then he imagined losing the path in the dark, so he packed 3 candles. He imagined the candles becoming wet, so he packed a second lantern. He imagined the lantern breaking, so he packed a jar of spare oil. He imagined Master Jin becoming ill, so he added another blanket. Then he imagined meeting someone else who was ill, and added a third. The pack grew broad and tall, and tied a cooking pot to one side and a water vessel to the other. He placed a knife in the upper pocket, flint in the lower pocket, and a wooden cup where he could reach it easily. He stood back and considered everything he had prepared. For one peaceful moment, he felt safe. Then he wondered what he had forgotten. Before dawn, the monastery courtyard was silver with moonlight. Master Jin waited by the gate. He carried his wooden staff and his black eating bowl. Nothing else. And approached beneath the weight of his enormous pack. Every step made the pot strike the water vessel with a hollow knock. Master Jin looked at the pack. "Are we moving the monastery?" he asked, and smiled uncertainly. "I have brought only what we may need." "Then it is fortunate," said Master Jin, "that you did not bring what we will not need." Together they passed through the gate. The first part of the path descended through pine trees. The earth was soft beneath their sandals, and the night smelled of bark and damp stone. Master Jin walked easily, and followed with his shoulders bent beneath the straps. After a while, the eastern sky began to pale. Birds called from the valley. A breeze stirred the branches and released a quiet shower of yesterday's rain. And looked up. "The wind is growing stronger." Master Jin nodded. "It could bring down a branch." "It could. Perhaps I should take out the axe now." "Has a branch fallen?" "No." "Then the axe may continue sleeping." They walked on. At the first stream, Anne stopped to examine the water. "It is higher than usual." "A little." "The next crossing may be dangerous." "We will meet the next crossing when we reach it." Anne disliked this answer. How could one prepare for a difficult crossing only after arriving? Surely wisdom meant seeing danger before it appeared. But the straps were cutting into his shoulders, and Master Jin was already continuing down the path. Anne followed. By mid-morning, clouds had covered the sun. The path began to climb again, winding around a steep ridge. Anne's breathing grew heavy. The cooking pot struck the water vessel at every step. Knock, knock, knock. He adjusted the straps. For several minutes they felt better. Then the rope pressed against the back of his neck. He moved the rope. The axe handle began striking his hip. He moved the axe. The blanket shifted to one side, pulling the whole pack with them, and stopped to retie everything. Master Jin waited beside a weathered stone marker. "Master," Anne said, "perhaps you should carry one of the blankets." "Am I cold?" "Not now, but you may become cold." "When I become cold, we will speak to the blanket." Anne frowned. "You are making fun of me." "Only a little," said Master Jin. "The pack is doing most of the work." Anne tightened the final knot and stood. "A responsible person prepares for trouble." "Yes." "Then why did you bring nothing?" Master Jin lifted his black bowl. "I brought this." "A bowl will not repair a bridge." No, it will not keep you warm. No, it will not stop the rain. It has never stopped rain before, and waited for the lesson that must surely follow. Master Jin simply continued walking. Near midday, they reached a small farm beside the path. An elderly woman stood beneath the eaves of her house, looking at a broken cart. One wheel had slipped from its axle. Vegetables lay scattered across the wet ground. And immediately lowered his pack. "I have a hammer," he said, "and nails, and rope." The woman looked at the wheel. "The pin fell out," she said. "It should be somewhere in the mud." They searched and soon found the wooden pin beneath a cabbage leaf. Master Jin placed it through the axle. The wheel sat straight again. No hammer was needed. No nails. No rope. The woman thanked them and offered 2 steamed buns. Master Jin placed his bun in his bowl and held his in one hand while trying to lift the pack with the other. The bun fell into the mud. The woman offered him another. They continued along the road, and An ate while walking. For a few moments, he considered removing the hammer and nails from his pack. The farmer might find them useful. But what if the bridge required repair? What if another cart had a different problem? He kept them. The road climbed higher. In the afternoon, rain began. At first it was light enough to gather on the leaves without falling through. Then the drops became heavier, and felt a brief surge of satisfaction. "The oilcloth," he said. He placed the pack on the ground and began untying it. To reach the oilcloth, he had to remove one blanket, the cooking pot and a coil of rope. By the time he found it, his robe was already wet. He unfolded the cloth. It was large enough to cover both monks, but the wind caught it and turned it into a sail, and struggled to hold one side. "Take the other corner," he called. Master Jin stood beneath a cedar tree. The thick branches turned the rain into a gentle dripping. "There is room here," he said, and dragged the oilcloth, blankets, rope, and pack beneath the tree. They waited. The rain passed as quickly as it had arrived. Sunlight broke through the clouds and shone upon thousands of drops suspended from the cedar branches. Master Jin stepped back onto the path and began packing the wet oilcloth. It was heavier now. "We may need it again," he told himself. He tied it to the outside of the pack, where it dripped against his legs. They walked on. By late afternoon, they heard the river. It moved somewhere below the ridge, unseen through the trees. Its low, steady sound grew louder as the path descended. Anne began imagining the bridge. He saw it broken in the center. He saw ropes hanging loose above brown water. He saw villagers waiting helplessly on the opposite bank. In one version, he crossed the damaged bridge to carry medicine to a sick child. In another, the bridge collapsed beneath Master Jin. Anne threw a rope, but the rope was too short. He should have packed a third coil. His breath quickened. "We should hurry," he said. "Why?" "The bridge may be worse than we think." "We have not thought anything about the bridge," said Master Jin. "You have thought enough for both of us. People may need help. Then save your strength for helping them." But An hurried. The faster he moved, the more the pack shifted. The pot struck the vessel. The axe struck his hip. The wet oilcloth slapped against his legs. Knock, knock, knock. At a bend in the path, his sandal slipped on wet stone and fell to one knee. The pack carried him sideways, and he rolled into a shallow ditch. For several breaths, he remained there beneath it, unable to rise. Master Jin looked down at him. "Are you injured?" And checked his arms and legs. "No." Are you comfortable? No. Then perhaps one of those conditions can be changed. Master Jin helped him sit up. Anne's robe was muddy. One candle had broken. The jar of oil had opened and soaked through a blanket. Something inside Anne broke too. Not a bone or a muscle. Something he had been holding tightly since long before this journey. He struck the side of the pack with his hand. I was trying to keep us safe. Master Jin sat on a stone beside him. I know. If I had left something behind, that would be the thing we needed. Perhaps. If I stop thinking about what might happen, something terrible will happen. Perhaps. Anne looked at him angrily. Is that all you can say? Master Jin rested his bowl upon his knees. No, but it is the part you do not wish to hear. The river moved below them. Leaves released drops of rain. Somewhere in the trees, a thrush sang 3 clear notes. Master Jin continued. You believe there is a thought you can think, a tool you can pack, or a danger you can imagine that will make uncertainty disappear. Anne looked away. Is that foolish? It is human. Then what should I do? Master Jin picked up the black bowl. First, stand up. Together they lifted the pack from the ditch. Master Jin opened it. He placed the broken candle beside the path. He removed the oil-soaked blanket, the extra lantern, the cooking pot, the hammer, the nails, and 1 coil of rope. We cannot leave these here, Anne said. Why not? Someone might take them. Someone who needs a hammer may take a hammer. They belong to the monastery. Then the monastery will practice generosity. Anne picked up the second blanket. What if the night becomes cold? Master Jin touched the air. Is the night cold? Not yet. Then let us carry the coal when it arrives. And slowly place the blanket beside the other things. They kept a little food, 1 water vessel, medicine, a single rope, and the oilcloth. The pack remained heavy, but it no longer felt like a building tied to Anne's shoulders. As he lifted it, he noticed something strange. He did not feel only lighter. He felt afraid. Each object left beside the path had been a promise. The promise that he would be ready. The promise that nothing would surprise him. The promise that careful thinking could protect everyone he loved. Without those promises, the world seemed wider and less certain. Master Jin began walking and stood beside the abandoned tools. How do I know we will not need them? Master Jin turned. You do not. Then how can we leave them? 1 step at a time. They descended toward the river and expected regret to follow him. Instead, with each step, he became more aware of the path beneath his feet. He noticed where roots crossed the earth. He noticed the smell of rain lifting from the stones. He noticed that the clouds in the west had become pale and thin. For the first time that day, he heard the river as water rather than a warning. At the bottom of the ridge, the trees opened. The bridge stretched before them. It had not collapsed. The river had not carried it away. 3 boards at the center had been replaced with fresh timber. A new rope had been fastened along one side. On the opposite bank, 2 villagers were stacking sandbags. Anne stared. They repaired it. It appears so. One of the villagers recognized Master Jin and waved. The storm passed north of us, he called. Only a little rain here. Master Jin and Anne crossed the bridge. Each board held. No rope was needed. No hammer. No nails. At the far side, Anne looked back at the river. All day, he had carried a broken bridge through his mind. That bridge had frightened him. It had exhausted him. It had caused him to hurry and fall. And it had never existed. Willow Village was quiet. The dark clouds had worried the villagers too, but the river remained within its banks. A few roofs had lost tiles. One goat had escaped through an open gate and was found eating flowers near the shrine. No great disaster had occurred. Still, there was work to do, and helped an old man replace roof tiles. He gave medicine to a woman with an aching hand. He used the remaining rope to secure a loose door. As evening arrived, the villagers prepared rice and vegetables. Master Jin held out his black bowl, and it was filled, and looked for his wooden cup. He had left it beside the path with the cooking pot. A child noticed him searching and brought a small chipped bowl from her house. "You can use this," she said, and accepted it with both hands. The village had what he had not carried, and what the village lacked, he had been able to offer. Not because he had predicted the day perfectly, because he had arrived, because his hands were free enough to help. That night, the monk slept in a small room beside the village hall. Rain whispered against the roof and lay beneath a borrowed blanket. He listened to Master Jin breathing peacefully on the other side of the room. For a while, An was peaceful too. Then a thought arrived. What if the river rose during the night? He pictured cold water entering the houses. He pictured the bridge disappearing. He pictured the tools they had left on the mountain path, useless and far away. His body tightened beneath the blanket. He sat up. Master Jin spoke from the darkness. "Has the river entered the room?" "No." "Has the bridge fallen?" "I do not know." "Is anyone asking for your help?" "No." "Then who are you rescuing?" Anne listened. Only the rain. Only the breathing of sleeping villagers. Only the soft movement of bamboo beside the wall. "No one," he said. Master Jin was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What are you carrying?" And understood. He was carrying the river, the bridge, the dark, the morning. He was carrying every possible tomorrow into a room that contained only 2 monks, 2 blankets, and the sound of rain. "How do I put it down?" he whispered. Master Jin answered, "Do not put down tomorrow forever. Put it down for this breath." And breathed in. The room remained dry. He breathed out. The roof remained above him. "Again," said Master Jin, and breathed in. At that moment, no one called for help. He breathed out. At that moment, there was nothing to repair. Again. The future returned many times that night. Each time, Anne put it down for one breath. He did not defeat worry. He did not force his mind to become empty. He simply stopped carrying tomorrow continuously. There were small spaces between one worry and the next. Inside those spaces was the room, the rain, the borrowed blanket, the life that was actually happening. Eventually, without noticing the exact moment, Anne fell asleep. In the morning, the river had risen slightly. The bridge still stood. The storm had moved east. Sunlight touched the wet roofs of Willow Village, and steam rose from the cooking fires. After breakfast, Anne and Master Jin began the journey home. They found the tools where they had left them. The hammer was gone. So were the nails. Beside the empty place lay 3 small pears. Master Jin placed 2 pears in his bowl and gave one to An. Farther along, they found the oil-soaked blanket hanging across a low branch. Someone had washed it in the stream and left it to dry, and folded it and carried it beneath one arm. The cooking pot remained beside the stone. Inside it, rainwater reflected the open sky. Anne emptied the water and tied the pot loosely to his pack. They left the broken candle. They left the second lantern. They left one blanket folded beneath the cedar tree for the next traveler who might become cold. The pack was not empty. and still carried food, medicine, and useful things. But he no longer asked each object to guarantee the future. Objects could help. They could not promise. Thought could prepare. It could not control. Worry could make noise. It could not see tomorrow. When they returned to Quiet Cloud, evening was settling over the courtyard. The same moth circled the same lantern. Or perhaps it was another moth. Anne stood beside Master Jin and watched it. "Did you know the bridge would be safe?" he asked. "No." "Did you know the villagers would have blankets and bowls?" "No." "Did you know someone would take the hammer?" "No." And waited. "Then what did you know?" Master Jin looked at the bowl in his hands. "I knew that an empty bowl can receive what the day contains." He handed the bowl to Anne. It was light. It was ordinary. It held nothing. And because it held nothing, it could hold tea. It could hold rice. It could hold pears offered beside a mountain path. It could hold rainwater or reflect the moon. Anne looked into the bowl. For a moment he saw his own face. Then the moth passed above the lantern, and a small moving light appeared in the dark surface. Years later, when travelers came to Quiet Cloud with their questions, some found a quiet monk sitting beside the plum tree. They asked him how to stop worrying. The monk did not tell them never to prepare. He did not tell them to empty their minds. He did not pretend that the future contained no storms. Sometimes he gave them tea in a plain black bowl. Sometimes he asked what trouble had entered the room at that exact moment. And sometimes he took them walking along the mountain path. At a cedar tree above the river, he would pause beside an old blanket folded beneath the branches. "This," he would say, "is for the cold when the cold arrives." Then he would continue walking, one step and another, carrying what the present required, leaving tomorrow enough space to arrive by itself. And now the path is quiet again. The lantern burns beside the monastery gate. Mist moves slowly between the mountains. Nothing is hurrying. Nothing is asking you to solve tomorrow tonight. If there is something you must carry, carry only this breath, and then this one. Let the bridges of the future wait beyond the trees. You will meet them when you reach them, for now the roof is above you. The room is here. The night is holding its own darkness. You do not have to hold it too. Rest beneath the cedar branches. Let the tools remain beside the path. Let the empty bowl receive the moon. Tomorrow knows how to wait, and for tonight you may sleep.